Ladies and gentlemen, we have two very special women that have joined us tonight for a podcast to discuss the importance of human health, the importance of human health as it relates to the mind. And we're going to discuss tonight some of the most important topics that have been ever posited on the internet. And what we're going to do is we are going to bring together the fact that physics explains human health in a way that we can break it down into vibration alone. And I know this is pretty esoteric, but bear with us. To my right or left, depending on how you're looking at us and which hemisphere, we have Gretchen Snell, I believe is a doctor, a naturopath. She knows everything about natural medicine and maybe more. And at the bottom of the screen, we have Kate Hart, a good friend of mine, and the radical gardener who has manifest herself through our channel for years. And she's actually an expert in growing food in um, non-rural areas of Michigan. And now she's moved down into Florida and she's perpetuating permaculture skills that are keeping her healthy, wealthy, and wise. I hope both of you women are heroes, in my opinion, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, reason I moved down to Florida, one of the reasons is I watched Oppenheimer Ranch Project and I got educated on the Grand Solar Minimum, and I knew I didn't want to be in Michigan for it. So I went to the warmest climate I could find.
Yeah, in fact, and Kate, have you been if you could tilt your camera a little down a little bit so your head comes a little bit up in the screen, that'd be perfect. But what I've noticed, and I want you to corroborate
Sure.
this, the weather in Michigan is getting a little squirrely. I mean, it's like dry for weeks and then it
Yeah.
rains for weeks and then it's hot and it's cold and those extremes because of that lake are only going to be accentuated in the decade and decades to come.
Yeah, it's very different this year. It's been very different the last couple of years.
Kate, did you hear me?
Yeah, I did, but I haven't been keeping up on the weather in Michigan. What I noticed is that there's a lot more rain this year. But every time I talked to somebody who was up in Michigan, it was raining, and nobody could keep their power on.
Right.
Just massive power outages.
Yeah, so this is just
Right.
now what we're experiencing is a sign of the times, and this is only going to increase. Now, most people that watch the internet, there's lots of people that are more salacious or exaggerating, and everyone expects like a major event to be like boom, and we all go black, or boom, and and a big wave washes over North America, and this is not how it rolls out. The problem is that most humans don't have the idea of geologic thinking, where timescales are greatly exaggerated. So, when we're talking about a catastrophe happening in the future, it's going to roll out slowly, and we're going to witness it happen for the first time in history. With the connectivity we have, we're going to witness it happening, and we're witnessing it. So there won't be one big boom. It will slowly ramp up to lots of booms happening at the same time. And it's going to just get worse and worse until the grid fails or the internet gets shut down. And that's when society collapses. Now, before this happens, our purpose here in this podcast is to impart wisdom to the people on this planet on how to be healthy, independent, and wise in the coming times. And this involves knowledge of how our immune system works. And one of the most important things I think we have to get out there tonight, Gretchen and Kate, is the fact that we have the ability. Now, based on science, I'm going to give you my take. Based on the placebo effect alone, humans have the ability to affect their outcomes in a health situation 60% of the time, which is almost as good as cancer therapy. So, and what I mean by that is that 60% or more of people that have certain types of cancer therapies recover from cancer. But at the same time, the same group of people that have the correct mindset or frequency that use naturopaths or natural medicine or even sound healing or just mental healing to heal themselves can heal themselves in the same way. And the placebo effect, if you don't know, just means that if you believe that this fake pill that you eat will do this thing, that it will work. And so, based on all scientific endeavors, what people have assumed is that if you believe that healing is possible, that no matter what you actually are doing or taking in or praying or meditating, that it actually changes your immune system in a positive way to fight off that disease. And at the same time, there have been studies that have been done that show that if you have the mindset of disease, that if you're ill or you're depressed or you're sick or you're actually wanting to be sick, that the same thing will happen. And tonight, I think that we're going to have a lively discussion on the facts on can you make yourself sick or can you make yourself healthy? And first, I want to start with Gretchen. Can you give us a brief synopsis if you believe what I said or you don't? Period.
Yes. The first thing is analogous to what you said about geological changes. It's the same way with health. It's rare, although it does happen because we have spontaneous remissions. It's rare that a disease just happens, and it's rare that a disease just is cured. But because we have established a mindset that if you go take this drug, it's going to have this immediate effect and it's going to change, that we expect natural therapies and building our health to happen in the same way. It doesn't happen that way. It happens slowly over time, and everything that you do builds one way or the other. And yes, there is, when you talk about the placebo effect, a lot of people find and maintain their health because it's not so much that they don't believe in or they believe a placebo works. They don't believe that it won't work. You know, the things that they're doing to build their health, they believe in. Now, with every thought process comes an information and energy, and that informs the body, it informs the mind, it informs the emotions, and that has an effect on healing. However, there's a caveat. It's not so much that you can simply sit there and say, I'm going to mellow this thing away, because due to our conditioning and traumatic events that may have happened in our past, we may want to say, well, I'm going to heal this and I'm going to have strictly positive thinking and nothing's going to interfere with that. That's our conscious mind. But we also have a subconscious mind that works on inductive reasoning, and it's going to pull together all that conditioning from the past. And so that's why it's important to have means and ways to uncover that conditioning and uncover those roadblocks so those can be removed.
Yeah, Gretchen,
Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
That's an excellent point. Before I get to you, Kate, I've been doing some deep research with many people in the field of therapeutic sciences. These are therapists of different skill sets. And I have a huge trauma experience my entire life. And what we've been uncovering are these roadblocks. And I'm almost finished getting rid of all the roadblocks. I have a very deep history of trauma and abuse in my life. And each of those has been playing a part in my health. Now, what I can say quite wholeheartedly is that since I've changed my lifestyle and my diet and my thinking and everything to do with that in the last 12 years, I have not been sick. I've not broken a bone. I have not needed to go to a hospital. In fact, I think hospitals are sick places and places people shouldn't go. And we could actually be teaching people how the food they eat the daily practices of mental health practices that we can do every day, can affect our outcomes in amazing ways. Just the way you said, it's not like tomorrow you're better. For me, it's taken 12 years to reach the point I'm at now, and it's still ongoing. I expect the rest of my life to continue on this journey to health. But Kate, you have some introspection on clean foods and changing your diet, and also the incorporation of maybe some alternative nutrients like C60 into your diet. And now, and I want to say that, Gretchen, the point you brought up, that even if you think you're meditating and you're doing well, there might be something hidden in your past that's a blockage that's going to prevent you to progress or to get healthy. And it's important to unravel every aspect of your human health history, which includes mental health, to actually get to the root of the disease. Kate, can you comment on that?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be 70 years old in a couple of weeks. And I know I don't look it, I don't act it, I don't feel it, and it's really a state of mind. I mean, that's how I've gotten to this point. And I was pretty sick in the probably about 5 years ago, and that's when I ran into C60 and a lot of other things. Not only that, but I was like, I fell downstairs backwards. I kept hurting myself. It was a real kind of downward spiral. And so through just natural health, and I was also working with healing music. I was developing music. So the combination of, really, that's how I met Gretchen. Is I went to her as she's a homeopathic doctor and a naturopathic doctor. So I went to her for help, but I also was working with the sound. I'm the thing that's really turned my health around, which I sent you that blurb earlier today, is that I just don't live in fear. And fear is, and I'm watching it, just front and center. We're watching people that are they're just deteriorating before our eyes because they're so afraid, and they're afraid of everything. And so it's about unblocking that fear, and the only way that can, well, there's many ways that can happen, but the place we want to get to is living in the moment. Yeah. Because that's where the conscious mind really is dealing with real truth. Everything from the past is history. It doesn't mean that it wasn't real. It doesn't mean that it wasn't traumatic, but it was history. And we're dealing with right here, right now. And that's where the divine truth lives. That's where the higher self lives, is in the here and now. When we're constantly looking at the past, or being affected by the past, or being prisoners of the past, or a victim of the past, it's almost impossible to get healthy. If we're blaming anything, it's impossible to get healthy. We're all here living through an experience, and those experiences aren't supposed to be keeping us down. They're here as an experience. We're supposed to be growing from them, right? So, what I've seen, and what I'm trying to practice now, I'm not trying to practice, I'm practicing it every day. Madness over the last year was to go inward and say, I just refuse to be in fear about anything. And I'm not a very fearful person anyways. I don't get pushed around. I don't do things because people tell me to do it. But I mean, it was just, it was something that was all around. And I just refuse to live that way. And I just keep getting healthier and healthier and healthier in the middle of this madness, because I'm just not going to play ball. I'm not going to get sick. That's what I say all the time. I'm not going to get sick. I'm not getting sick. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to live until I'm 100 years old, and I'm going to watch this whole thing play out.
Kate and I were talking the other day, and I said, I woke up one day in the middle of this madness, and I heard this voice say, your present is creating your present. And I said, what? Because you usually say your present creates your future, or your past creates your present. Your present's Our present is creating our present. Fear creates more fear. Worry creates more worry.
You ladies are freezing up, and I hate it. We just froze up, and I am completely spellbound, and we have disconnected. We just got we just got cut off there, but Gretchen was doing a great synopsis on fear. And before you continue, Gretchen, I just want to tell everyone out there that fear is a liar. It's the biggest propaganda tool used by
Yeah.
governments and the mainstream
Yeah.
media to keep you sick. It's been happening for almost 7 decades, and you do not have to buy into the fear. Now, I'm an addict. An alcoholic. I have an addictive personality in my past that's got me into trouble, but I've changed my lifestyle. But I will never shut the door on the past because I want to know that that fear was nonsense. It was self-created. And now I'm in a healing mode, in a healing modality, but I'm still that same person. But one of the things I've learned in my healing process is that expectations are what kill us in the future. And what
Yep.
the information you got, Gretchen, is that now is now, and this is it. It's not what may be tomorrow. It's how am I living in the moment to change my outcome tomorrow. If I want to wake up tomorrow healthier and happier, I have to live without fear today. I have to eat healthy foods. I have to believe in the energy and the energetic realms coming into my body. I have to pray to the universe to make me better in the next day. And I have to perpetuate this idea. This is how I've discussed this in many venues. The reason I am where I am now in a permaculture orchard that I created with my partner Leah in the middle of the wilderness, and the reason this idea continues to grow is that this is an embedded mindset that we live now. We don't live it yesterday. We don't care about what's happening tomorrow. It's what are we doing now to make this better, bigger, happier, and healthier now. And every time we wake up, we have the opportunity to attack now. But the future is a dream. The past is over, and everyone's living in fear. And this is perpetrated by the government and the media that are complicit. And what we're trying to do tonight is to say you have an opportunity to shut it off. Now, some people are so deep into the fear mindset that it's going to take a long time to get out of it. But you can all start now. And that's by being present. And in my opinion, the easiest way to get out of the fear mindset is to create a gratitude list. If you're scared to death about breathing and you wear masks and you scared to go to the store or get near people that are unmasked, start writing down some of the things you're grateful for. Now, before you continue, Gretchen, let me just tell you a personal story. My neighbor here, unfortunately, got the thing. And he did it because he has an older mother that he likes to visit in Arizona. And now what's happened in the last 5 months is completely insane. This is a 40-year-old guy, and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. And he told me the other day that he has shingles that are attached to his optic nerve. Now, he had chicken pox when he was younger, but now he has shingles that is like this necrotic rash on his whole head attached to his optic nerve, which is making him blind. And the other day he came out of his property and he was screaming in pain. And I knew that shingles is excruciating pain, but this was unlike what I've ever seen. And this afternoon, I got an email that he is in the hospital and he had a heart attack. He had a heart attack. He has shingles of the optic nerve. This is someone that eats organically, lives in nature, has a permaculture orchard in a foreign country. But he did that thing, and this is the result. There's no other explanation. So,
Oh,
Gretchen,
wow.
yeah, if you
Right.
can, if you can continue with
Okay, so first of all, talk to us off air. Because the one thing Kate and I want to get across is that people, whether they've made the decision one way or the other, there are things that can be done. So we can stop being in fear right now. There are things that can be done and have been done to clean up both sides of the aisle. So we need to take that fear off the table right now. As I don't know where I was cut off before, but I was saying that our present creates our present, because that's the only power we have is in the present right now. And fear creates more fear. Doubt creates doubt. Gratitude creates gratitude. Love creates, like attracts like. It is what it is. And where our consciousness, we talked earlier about the past and past conditioning, things that have happened, things that are right in front of us right now, they all converge together. You asked about the science. They all converge together to, the indigenous would call this your assemblage point. The Quechua Indians call it the assemblage point. It's where your consciousness all converges. It's the same thing in quantum physics. It's your singularity point. It's where everything, all the fields converge and your consciousness collapse. And where that is contains all those energy fields contained just vast amounts of information that are feeding your body on a cellular level as well as an energetic level 24/7, even when you sleep. So if you can get yourself into a position where you live in the present moment, you try to snap as many of those connections as possible, and you try to bring yourself into the present moment. There's nothing to do. There is nothing to do. We are not human doings. We are human beings. It is being in that center. And when you be in that center, you align with the field of infinite possibilities, with infinite source, and then you align with all the other different energy fields that come from this order that you can enfold into your energy field, your body, and create a new reality, create a new quantum collapse, create a change in your assemblage point, a change in your singularity point. And Kate has written some really excellent stuff, just mind-blowing stuff today about changing that perspective from fear and how we can, utilize the energies and utilize sound or energies like homeopathic remedies that are energetic to shift that. So I'll turn it over to Kate to pick up where.
Well, I think it's really important that we realize that we manifested what's going on. I mean, I'm not blaming government or any of it. We've been living these lies for a long, long time because we these are lessons that we need to learn, and we're at the breaking point now. We are understanding that a lot of what we manifested or bought into or believed, it's lies. It's all been lies, and so we can't blame anybody except ourselves because we continued to be in a fearful state. So now that the fear is so in our face, it doesn't work anymore. And this is where we begin to create a different kind of reality because we realize the one that we have been creating and we have been living in just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, well, Kate,
As you're seeing,
I've been watching you, Kate, for
as you're seeing with all the energies, the intense
ahead,
energies that have coming into the planet, things are going to change just from that alone because you have these intense energies that are coming in, and the solar system is in a complete different place in the photon belt. So the energies that are coming in has information. They are changing Gaia. They're changing everything on Gaia, and they're changing its inhabitants.
Yeah, but the point is here, and I think we can prove it based on just what we're discussing, is that what we all know, the three of us know, is that the earth energies have been radically shifting for a decade, maybe 2 decades, and they're
Yeah,
going to continue to radically shift ever more for the next 2 decades. But Kate alone, I've
yeah.
witnessed you go from who you were to who you are now. And the testimony you just gave earlier uh, proves to me that in just 5 years since I met you, your level of commitment to changing your quantum level is epic, and you're literally shifting the matrix around you. Before you, I interpreted the way you're feeling was a little bit more skeptical or more equal this and that, and everything's okay and everything's all right. But now I think you've come to the conclusion that by making the decision to change the way you live, literally on every level, you have to be it, you have to live it, and you have to expound it, and you have to, and then people around you can pick up on the energy, and they're like literally drawn to you because you're electric. Your aura swells into these huge realms. Now, and this goes all the way back to 12-step programs of recovery in like Alcoholics Anonymous, which I shouldn't be talking about, but all you need to do is sit next to the most grateful person in a room. And even if you're in the most miserable state, you will have a shift in your consciousness. It will allow you to understand what gratitude is, perhaps, but you may need to sit next to that person for a week until that spark happens. But it's some type of energetic connection that's literally a pipeline between one person to another. We're not talking, they're not even talking to each other. You just need to be near that person that is in that
That's right.
gratitude, and you can suck it up. So we're imploring everyone to just maybe do a little experimentation about what we're talking about. Gretchen?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to let Kate take it from there because she's,
Please.
Well, one person can affect 1,000 just by uh, acknowledging that we all belong here and we're all here sharing our experience and not being in judgment. That's tricky. You know, I would, you know, I'm one judgmental motherfucker. And so it's really, really tough for me through this last year, this whole COVID BS crap that's been going on. What it did, it was a tremendous gift because it drove me inward to look at my own shadow and see what is this really about. And the way out of it for me, it is that no one is to blame. No one, there's nobody at fault. You know, I would take people that I really couldn't even stand looking at, like, you know, Biden or Kamala Harris or some of those people. And I would find a place in my heart not to be in judgment. I would just say, you know, I'll judge the act, but I'm not going to judge the person. And I'd say that person's here for their experience. And, you know, all these people running around with their mask on and telling everybody that they should do this and then that, you know what? They're here for their experience. I had to find a way out so I could be peaceful and healthy and light filled. But if I was going to sit in judgment and in separation, I wasn't going to go anywhere, and I certainly wasn't going to be healthy.
Yeah, and that keeps us sick. So I think that there's 3 layers of health that we should probably, let's just wrap up tonight and talk about 3 layers of health. Now, Kate, you focused on sound healing, your psionic free track that you
Right.
introduced Gretchen to, and all of the sound healing work you do has to do with sound frequency. And there are certain frequencies, and I know this to be true. I have some sound healing friends that have tuning forks. And when we go to events, there people are sick or depressed. They literally, these are big tuning forks. They bang them on surfaces. They put them on their knees or their shoulders or their chest or their head or whatever they're doing. And the people have immediate relief from depression or whatever they're going through. And this is just using frequency. And I also know that using plant medicines like cannabis oil and other things can bring our immune system into something called homeostasis. And meditative practices and other practices can bring our harmonics into that homeostasis. But the fear is literally like a weapon against all of those things. And also, we have the embedded blockages from our past traumas that also are the same as the fear. So those are both attacking us from both ends. We might have past traumatic blockages, and now we have the fear pumping in from the media, and everyone's trying to get well. It's very hard to get to a place where you are, Kate, where I am, where we wake up every morning in a state of gratitude, and there could be bombs going off, and I'd still be grateful for everything around me. Um, but I mean,
I mean,
it takes a long time to get there. Gretchen, do you have any tips for people that don't think that's possible to get where we are? Where do they start? What should you do? I would just suggest everyone start eating more connected foods, like raw foods. Start meditative practices. Start stretching. Walk in nature, and smell some of the pheromones to start to eliminate the fear. Gretchen, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think that our culture has a really unhealthy relationship to death. Let's just go to the most basic fear that people have, which is death. We're all going to die. Get over it. And if you deal with that and move on, trust me, I've had way too many people die on me way early in life to deal with this. Deal with it and move on. I thought here's a good way to look at it. Two things you said when you sat with somebody in a meeting and they exuded that gratitude. We know from the studies at the Institute of Heart Math that the field goes out, and the field from the heart is stronger, much stronger than the field of the mind and the fields of the thought. So people connect, help people, stop being afraid of one another, stop fearing some invisible enemy from the outside that's going to come and attack you and kill you and make you sick. This stuff has been going on since the dawn of time. You're not going to stop a microbe from coming in. What you can do is adjust your inner soil, your inner garden, right? So that you're not growing mushrooms, so that you have a nourished soil that's going to grow. Look, the long time ago, there was an argument between Beauchamp and Pasteur. And Pasteur ultimately had more money and more political connections. So that's why germ theory won. That's Beauchamp was a researcher in the lab. He said it's all about the terrain, and Pasteur said it's all about the microbe. Well, Pasteur, even on his deathbed, said, I was wrong. It's all about the terrain. And if you want to know why that is ultimately true and why that's where you have the power, just ask Kate. Look at her gardens, right? She changed the soil. She changed the nutrients. She changed what was happening. And she took that space in Florida that was basically just coral and rock, and she has this flourishing garden full of nutritive fruits and vegetables that are producing. That's what you want in your body. So that's how you do it.
That's a beautiful metaphor.
Go to the basic fears, root them out.
Beautiful metaphor.
Don't you decide, you decide what controls you. Either your fears control you or you control your fears.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, you can't break it down to more basic than that, Kate. Change the terrain. And I changed the terrain in my body 12 years ago, where I was putting nothing but processed food and garbage inside, and poison in the form of drugs and alcohol. And for 3 years, I did a cleanse that was nothing but to remove toxins from my body. And during that cleanse, I had a spiritual experience that allowed me for the first time to experience gratitude in such a huge way that I was just existing. that changed my entire outlook on everything. And life is not always, peaches and cream. It's ups and downs. But if you live in gratitude, even the worst moments, this too shall pass, and there are wonderful moments ahead. We all die. And you are a perfect example, Kate, of a 70-year-old young
But
lady that is going to live forever. I mean, because you don't have a fear of dying. You probably have a fear of living too long. And my knees are pretty fearful of that right
well,
now.
here's the thing. Let's just put it this: we never die.
Yeah,
That's bullshit. We
yeah,
never die. This is a third dimensional reality. If there's death, we're living it now.
agreed.
You know, the eternal life is who and what we are. We never die. Hello, everybody out there, take your mask off, get a grip. We never die, ever. So let's enjoy it, right? You're right. Let's be grateful. We never die. Let me say that again. We never die. This is eternal life, eternal.
Yeah.
And we are building a harmonic chord, a layers. Every lifetime we live is a new layer of harmonics. Every single life we live is a new layer of harmonics. We're building our own scale, our own musical chord. How beautiful is that?
Wow. I'm like G sharp augmented to the seventh. That's amazing. Gretchen, fi- final words, Gretchen. And where are we going from here?
um, Final words. I think I already said them. Live in the present moment. Focus on the present moment. Focus on what you can do versus what you can't do. Nobody is forcing you to shove your mouth full of chips and Coke. Okay? You can make different choices. No one is forcing you to shove your brain full of lamestream media. You can make different choices. You can research. You can and connect. That you've probably learned this, Diamond, a long time ago, is that the best way to shake yourself out of that negative downward spiral is go volunteer and help out with somebody who's in a lot more dire straits than you are. You'll come home feeling like you have no problems in the world.
Yeah, agreed. Now, I was homeless for a while, and when I was coming out of my fog, I had to live in a halfway house, and I volunteered every Thanksgiving in one of the worst parts of Philadelphia to give out food. And I felt so much above the people I was serving food to as far as where I was living in a halfway house and monitored by the police, and the people I was serving food to didn't have like any of the things I had. And that's where my gratitude swelled when I realized that I once thought I was like in the worst place a human could be, and I was actually in a better place than many of the people I was serving food to were. And my whole mindset at that moment changed, and volunteering, like, I might not like Jimmy Carter for many reasons, but that's a 90-year-old guy who gets gratitude. He's on the edge of his deathbed. He's in his 90s. He still works for Habitat for Humanity, and he's just giving and giving and giving. And the reason is not because he's getting something in return. And what I learned is the more you give selflessly, it doesn't matter. The return comes tenfold after the fact if you do not want it. And so, and that's the way of living selflessly and living in gratitude. It literally builds on itself, and it's completely amazing. Kate, do you have some parting words on gratitude, perhaps?
Yeah. Don't live in judgment, live in love. Do not judge your fellow man. They're here for the experience. Just know that they're supposed to be here.
Yeah, we love
Do
you.
not judge. Live in
Gretchen,
love.
Gretchen, what are you? Do you have any books? Do you have a website? Where should people come in contact with you?
Yes, for if they would like more information about how quantum physics interfaces with healing and natural routes of healing, indigenous teachings. in line um, in conjunction with principles of quantum physics. The book I wrote, Wings of Light, Feet of Clay, on the nature of healing, goes pretty heavily in depth into that. I can be reached at my website, naturalpathconsulting.com. And I just created a new one to share stories of healing and indigenous teachings as well as principles of quantum physics, called thequantumheart.net.
Awesome. And those links will all be below. So if you want to get in touch with Gretchen, just go below the video in the description box and click on her links. Kate, how can we find you and what do you want to maybe shout out?
I have a couple of websites, therapeutic, sound and wellness. But if you just search for Radical Gardener Kate Hart on YouTube, it'll come up. All my music is free on YouTube, and on Therapeutic Sound and Wellness, it's really the only site that I know of in the world where you can go on the site and look for whatever it is that ails you, and then it takes you to the music that was composed for that ailment, and it's all free.
Well, that's badass. Like you, Kate Hart, the Radical Gardener, badass. As well as Gretchen Snell, Sound and Light Healing. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, ladies. Please check out their links below, and we will have a conversation soon with both of you. Thank you very much.
We love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's
Bye.
a boom to Sound and Healing.